coming to you live from Sophie's Place Broadcast Studio.
Well, hello and welcome to the Kevin and Kathy Show. We're here in the jungles of Costa Rica, live. It's pretty hot here.
Mosquito.
Oh, thank you. I have my friend Kathy here. And Kathy has a special friend that she wants
And
to
I have
introduce.
my good friend Aaron, who is a National Geographic Explorer. And he's here because he's going to teach us a little bit about butterflies.
That's right. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
So, are you a butterfly expert?
I'd say I'm up there.
And what is a butterfly expert called besides a butterfly expert? Do you have a title?
Well, I would say entomologist would be the official title.
Entomologist. Is that sort of like Entomologist donuts?
What's that mean? Can you break that down? What's enta? Is it like enta and then mologist means some other thing, like study of or something like that?
Right. In tomos, it has that like nice Latin root in there, meaning like in segments, pieces.
Okay, that was really okay. I think we got to ask him less boring questions. Do you have any questions?
I actually have questions, but let's actually hear a little bit about what Aaron does first.
Yeah, well, I study bugs, really, is the gist of it.
And do you where do you study them from?
Well, I am at UC Berkeley as a PhD student right now.
So do all the bugs come to you?
Sometimes, we'll raise bugs in our lab, but we'll also go out into jungles.
Ooh.
Like the one behind us?
That's right.
Did you take this picture?
I did. This was actually in Ecuador and up in the cloud forest.
I see the clouds. Ooh. Very lush.
Were there a lot of bugs there?
There's tons. It's amazing. If you don't like bugs, it might not be your thing, but to someone who studies them, I love it. There's just tons.
Now, are there a lot of mosquitoes as well?
Yes.
So there's
Good and bad.
There's some bugs and bugs that are cool, right? So
Definitely.
That must be. You got to take the good with the bad with this job.
Exactly.
apparently.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so let's
Enlighten us a bit here.
Enlighten us.
Well, I figured we could go on a little journey first. You want to come along?
Yes.
Okay.
Let
Well,
me get my hat.
yeah. Get your mosquito repellent. Everything you need.
Okay, got it.
We're gonna go on kind of a long flight. This one will actually be down to Peru. So if we hop on our flight, then we're down.
Ooh.
Wow, that was fast.
It was really fast. It was nice, right? Well, it takes a little while to get there. Let's see a little bit of the travel. So we
See how my first class seat is?
totally, yeah,
nice.
always first class when you
Oh.
stare at the jet.
Yes, yes.
So right now we're flying. We're flying
Oh.
over the rainforest, but we're not done yet. Now we actually have to travel on a boat.
Is this a famous river?
It is the Tambopata River.
So not a famous one like the Nile or the Amazon.
Right. It feeds into the big Amazon River, so it's a little part of it. So
look.
there's us on a
Yes,
boat.
yeah.
We're traveling. We got our vests
When
on.
did you put that vest on? I didn't notice.
You didn't get a vest?
You didn't give me a vest.
Oh, uh-oh.
Well, look at all those
Can you see?
birds.
Yeah, those are parrots. It's really pretty. You see
look at the
rainbows.
rainbow.
Yeah.
Are we going over the rainbow?
Oh, and then monkeys.
Ooh.
Oh,
yum.
that is cool. What is he eating? Looks like
Wait,
Just a little stick. What's that?
what is that? Is that it?
crocodile.
Not quite. Jaguar.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
Did you take this picture?
I did, yeah.
Oh my
No
God.
There
way,
he is.
really?
Look, he just popped out of the river. See, he was going for a little swim.
That's awesome.
That is very cool.
Isn't that cool? And then he's looking at her back. And then, of course, lots of pretty butterflies.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's beautiful. We're in the rainforest. And we're just surrounded by tons of life. And that's why I love the jungle.
Now these pictures. What time of year were you there?
I was there in the summer.
Okay.
And so what we do is we just walk around the rainforest with our equipment, with our nets, and we just go on a hike. And we get really sweaty.
Was it really,
you
really
know.
hot?
Oh, yeah.
Gross? Okay.
Yeah. But we take lots of pictures, so that's some of the camera equipment that we use.
That looks like a heavy camera.
It is. But that's how we can take really nice close-up pictures.
Are you alone here? I only see you every time
Oh,
there's a
that's
picture.
cool.
Well, you got to give your buddy the camera, right?
Nice, look at that.
Yeah.
So do you recognize all these butterflies? Do you know what they all are?
That one's Ed, right?
Was that Ed?
Fred.
Oh,
Fred.
Close.
Ed's brother.
Close.
Yeah.
No, there are thousands of different types of butterflies. And, when you combine all of the animals out there, there's just more types of life than anywhere else on the planet.
So,
Wow.
like for the example, that last one you showed, you didn't recognize what type it was?
Well, it can be tricky.
Because they look similar to other ones that you might know.
Exactly. So I brought a few examples here. Kat, you want to see?
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
So what do we have here?
Well, what do you notice?
I notice a lot of orange
A lot
and
of
black
Yes.
You know what they look like? Something I'm very familiar with,
that we have here, actually.
and I'm going to, but they don't look exactly. I'm thinking of the monarch butterfly.
Uh-huh, the monarch,
But
which is
they-
also bright yellow or sort of like orangey
The orange
with
and
black
black.
stripes. Uh-huh.
And they all look
And yet
really
none of them
similar.
maybe this one here looks
With
like the one
the- yeah.
I know really well. I don't know if you can see it on the screen because you're holding it low,
Sorry.
Kathy.
Oh my gosh, sorry. I'll just hold it.
This one's the one I think looks like the traditional one that I know of, at least from North America. Are there different kinds?
So
these
what
all
are these called?
Monarchs?
These are in the same family as the monarch butterfly, but these are all different types of heliconius butterflies.
Oh, I knew that.
Totally.
I didn't know that.
There's a few others that are mimics, and these are what we would call glass wings, because some are transparent and some actually look like the heliconius. But it's a good point. They're all kind of bright and orange. So, Kat, when you've talked about the monarch, what have you talked about?
Well, one of the things that we just found out when we were reading about them is that they are actually poisonous.
They are.
Which actually surprised me. I did not know
so
that.
Many that you run into during your lifetime.
That I
you know what?
taste.
I have not eaten a single one.
I know, right?
If you did, it would probably taste pretty bad.
Is there any creature that eats them? Like,
Birds. So birds are probably the main predators for a lot of these butterflies. But what will happen is they might eat one and then they'll get really sick. And then they're like, I don't really want to eat anything that looks like that ever again.
So that's why it's in their benefit to look similar to that.
That's exactly
So,
right.
so are any of these poisonous?
All of them are.
Oh, all of them are.
Or they actually might not be poisonous, but they look like their buddy who's poisonous. So they're kind of tricky.
So if we had Kathy lick each one.
You want me to?
Yeah.
And
find
I'll
the
tell
one
you
that's
which one
just
is.
the buddy. And see if
Is there only one that's non-poisonous in here?
I'm gonna
That's
say
a good
yes.
science experiment. I like that.
Okay,
Are
okay.
they still poisonous at the moment, even though they're
They
deceased and-
probably do. What happens is they usually,
dry it up?
when they're caterpillars, they eat a plant and then they get the poison from that
and
plant.
it stays with them forever.
Exactly. So like the monarch, for instance, feeds on milkweed. And if you've ever broken open a milkweed plant, they're kind of like gooey and white sap. And that's also pretty poisonous.
Oh,
Very cool.
that is
That is very cool.
informative that I had no clue about.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
one of the other things that we learned about with the monarch butterfly is that some of them fly like 2,000 miles, and they some of them live up in Canada, and then they fly all the way down to Mexico, which is really far, considering I don't even like to drive from here to San
And
Jose.
is the reason they're doing that to stay with weather that's of the same temperature range or something like that? Or is
Yeah,
it because they feel the need to lay eggs somewhere else? Or why are they doing that?
Probably a little of both. They travel at different times of year. They migrate. And certain times of year, they'll go to warmer places like Mexico about this time of year. And they're just sort of waiting for the weather to clear up everywhere else. And it's actually kind of interesting. It's not one individual that migrates the whole time. They actually lay eggs, and then their babies continue the migration.
Oh, really?
So they're born knowing how and where to migrate.
Wow,
Which is incredible. So imagine
so
if you
weird.
just you didn't need your GPS, you were just born and
Right.
you're like, I know exactly where I'm going.
So how long does a monarch butterfly live?
It depends, maybe like a couple months. So not a super long time.
Little.
Yeah, so you might imagine if
so weird.
if the migration takes a year,
Right.
they have several different generations, we would say, that continue the migration. Which is really amazing.
That is amazing.
And you know what I hear that a lot of people do is they make way stations or stop stations or rest stations. I don't know what they call them. It's a big thing now with schools, so that you build this place hoping that they'll stop there. But probably have to be on their route.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like.
But aren't we on the route? We are on the route, right?
This is part of the path.
So
and
where we are here at Packard Children's Hospital is part of the path. Okay. I haven't seen a lot here, ever.
I don't know if I've looked for them, but I don't even know if
that's
we
the
have
other thing, I
milkweed
don't
here,
know.
though. We would have to have milkweed. So I guess that's one of the big pushes that people are saying is to plant milkweed in order to help the monarch butterflies.
Yeah, planting their native plant is really helpful to boost their populations. So their populations have been declining, and that might be in part because they don't have as much of their plant as they're used to.
And would it be safe for the plant to grow here? And is it
It's native, that's right.
okay?
Yeah.
So we could do that, and it wouldn't like harm the environment any.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go plant some
Just don't
right
eat.
now.
Just don't eat it.
I won't eat it. You know why?
Don't eat the milkweed, don't eat the butterflies. Just plant it
Just
and you'll
plant
be good.
it.
Yes, I've heard that it's poisonous, so I'm not going to eat it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Great.
so these are a really beautiful example, and all of the color is within their wings. But if you look really close, the color is coming from something on their wings.
What?
So I can show a few different examples. Here are a few different butterfly species that we see out in these tropical jungles. And then if you zoom in really, really close on one of those wings, that to the right
Those, like,
is under a
scales?
microscope.
Wait a
Yeah.
minute, the black circle with the white circle, and then the arc of yellow below. That's a close-up of that circle on the wing.
Exactly. So if you look at it under a microscope, then you start to see those little scales. So you might not have, like, if you've ever touched a butterfly, some people say like you get pixie dust on your fingers, right? So those are the scales that can rub off.
So is it true that, like, if you pick up, because you know how when I was little at least, I used to try to catch them, but then if you do that, you might kill the butterfly because then you're getting all the scales off of it?
You do
Oh,
want
you're rubbing scales off if you touch it?
Yeah,
When you
yeah.
get that powder stuff, right?
Exactly.
And do they grow back?
They don't grow back ever. So you might not kill the butterfly by handling it, but it will lose some of its color, and it might not be able to fly as well. So you do want to be gentle if you're handling them and not really grab them by the wings so much. But they won't actually die if you rub the scales off. They just won't grow back.
Can I ask you about color?
Of course.
It's okay to ask it now.
Please.
Why?
Ooh.
What?
Why,
Ask
why
away.
are they different colors, and why are they bright, and like, why are they not something closer to like a moth that it can hide when it's against a tree or something like?
Yeah, or like
what good is
green
it
so that
doing
it can
Yeah.
hide on
What
a
good does it do it being a bright color?
Well, that's an excellent question. That's something
That's
that.
because I asked.
Yeah, it was great. That's something that we try to figure out in our lab. Where does color come from, and how does it benefit them in different ways as they try and survive in nature? So the answer, it really boils down to two things. They can produce color through either a pigment or through what we call a structural color. So pigments you might be familiar with because we make pigments in our skin and in our hair. So, if you have darker pigment, some of us have a little less pigment in our hair these days than others.
That wouldn't be me you're talking about, I'm sure.
But
So wait a minute. Does it? I don't know if anybody has noticed this, but my hair is getting lighter as I get older. Does a butterfly fade like my hair fades as they get older?
it will indeed.
Really?
So
That is
so
cool.
some
I can tell
people
the age of a butterfly. Oh, that one's a good 3 months old.
some people have collections where in a museum it might be decades old or hundreds of years old, and it does fade over time.
Oh, so it'll
Oh,
still
like
fade
even
after
when they're
gone.
when they're
Yeah,
dead.
yeah. And
really?
that's part of the reason is because you and I and the butterflies kind of produce these darker colors in the same way. We make melanin. So just like we make in our skin and in our hair.
So like some of these butterflies, the dark part, some of them are like pretty black, and some of them are not at all. So does that mean that one's an older specimen?
It's a good question. Basically, they're using different genes to make those different colors. So melanin would be one of the genes, and then the orange would be a different type of pigment. The sciencey term is called an omichrome that makes the orange.
So this thing that we're looking here, that we're not looking at, it says pigment versus structural color. Are you saying that the orange and the yellow on the bottom are the pigments and the blues are the structural color?
That's exactly right. So if we have our
structural color then.
So we'll show some examples of structural color. This is just kind of showing our color wheel. So we have these different wavelengths that animals make. So your question, Kat, was really good. This is very sciencey looking. You won't be tested on this. Don't worry.
Oh, goodness. I didn't even bring a pencil.
I know.
So this is showing the chemicals on how you make these different colors. So like the dark black scales versus the orange scales are different genes. But if you want to make like really shiny blue scales,
I like that.
this one's really pretty, right? So there's no blue pigment here.
I think you're wrong.
So
oh, wait, it's structural color.
Exactly.
Right,
So if
there
you
you go.
zoomed in really, really close, you would see these little like Christmas trees.
Whoa.
So these are teeny, 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 tiny pieces on the scale that make it blue.
So how does it make it blue? Like by reflecting light or something?
That's exactly right, Kat. So you can make it kind of like how you make a rainbow or how you make a prism.
Okay, it reflecting light to make it blue. Does
Mm-hmm.
it change over like if you're depending on the light source that's around it? So
Mm-hmm.
like, can it be a different color, or is it always just blue that it reflects?
No, you're totally right. It will change color depending on the angle of light. And so I have a little example to show in this next slide, but this is also just showing a little, like
So
schematic.
all those animals also
that.
do it the same way? They like change.
Yeah, beetles, hummingbirds, all the kinds of like shiny colors that you see in nature, animals take advantage of this.
And what is
What's
this
the thing?
on the, it looks like a plant on the bottom right.
Looks like a
Yeah, that's a kind of a weird example. It's a plant from Africa, and the berries are like this shiny blue.
So they have structural color like everything.
They do. So plants, have like blueberries and flowers and things like that. They can actually make blue pigments, but animals really don't make blue or green as a pigment. So this, I think, answers your next question is, can you change this color? And so here we have that same blue butterfly wing, and if you put a little tiny drop of ethanol on the wing, this is
Ethanol?
ethanol is kind of like an alcohol. You use it to clean surfaces.
Oh, what are you doing?
But look at that.
cool.
So what do you think is happening there?
Is it, let's see. So is it because the ethanol is almost like acting like a prism? Or is it?
Yeah, it's kind of filling in the little bits in the prism.
So between the Christmas trees or something?
That's exactly right. And then as it dries, it goes back to its normal blue.
Dries pretty fast, obviously, right?
It just evaporates.
Yeah.
So then what happens at night when there is no, or when there's very low light?
It would probably just look brown when there's, or if you shine the light from behind instead of having it reflect on the top. Yeah. So I think this is a really fun example just showing how, there are these different types of colors and the ways that animals can make them.
Yes.
Very cool.
So these are a couple different examples. And then what we also study in our lab is how butterflies become invisible. So they're
That's
actually ones that don't have color. You can see right through them.
Are these aren't all three one butterfly?
The two on the left, those are the same butterfly, just with the light shining from in front and the light shining from behind.
That's cool.
And then the one on the right is a different species of butterfly, also from Ecuador.
Is that a human behind it?
That is
you.
my
That is your
eyeball.
eyeball.
And fun fact about human eyes, I'm not producing a green pigment in my eye. I just lack melanin, and so it looks more greenish. So that's a type of structural color as well. So it looks like you both have pretty dark eyes, so you're making plenty of melanin.
So, okay, so that butterfly that's clear, but it's not that there's nothing there. There's something there and you can just see through it?
Yeah, so they have kind of like you saw those Christmas tree structures that made that butterfly blue. These have a different type of structure, and it makes the light just go straight through them more efficiently, we would say.
Is that to hide from predators?
Yes,
you think?
that's what we think. Yeah, this was actually discovered, or at least noted by a guy hundreds of years ago in 1862.
He has very nice hair.
Yeah,
Yes,
those are great chops.
sideburns. Yeah, the sideburns.
I kind of miss the facial hairstyle. I feel like we could pull that
You
off.
can always start a new.
A new trend.
That's true. So this gentleman was traveling around Brazil actually in 1862, and he noticed that all of these different clear butterflies looked like one another. Kind of like these all look like one
Right.
another, these orange
So
ones.
when you say clear, they're clear and black, right?
Yeah.
They look kind of yellowish too.
There's a little yellow tint on these guys as well, exactly. But what you'll notice in that little ring and what he drew in his notebook is that these were all different species, but they looked like one another.
Oh, really? Wow.
So he published a paper, and the paper was a theory that we all know pretty well today. It was called On the Theory of Mimicry by Henry Walter Bates.
Oh, I just read that.
Did you?
No.
Fun reading, right?
That was, yeah.
Some nice light
So when
reading.
you say we all know, you mean we all who are entomologists.
Ichthyologists?
Ichthyologists.
Fish people?
All the ichthyologists know it.
Did I say it again? Whoopsie. So it's really he's only known to bug people, right?
Well, I would
mimicry
say
could be-
he's in all the kids' textbooks these days. So any biology
What grade,
textbook.
though?
Maybe high school.
High school.
Maybe high school that
If
would
you're not
start.
in high school, that's why you don't know him. Okay.
But you will.
I did.
You'll come to know.
My day, he hadn't been there yet when I was in high school.
Right.
Because that was before 1862,
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
Cool.
You've
Yeah.
also brought something else to show in a frame.
You know, hold these two cups. So what are
These
these?
things are humongous.
Yeah, they're big, right?
Those look. I don't know if I'm right. Are those moths instead of butterflies? Because they're like fuzzy, like
I'm
a
going to
moth.
guess
Exactly.
that it's a pair of Epiphora rectifascia.
Oh my goodness. You are a pro.
I know.
I was going to say that.
I know.
You
That was
took
tip of your
the
tongue.
word.
To get it right out of your mouth.
But you're exactly right. These are moths. This is the male and the female. And these are what we call silk moths. They're really big and they're really pretty.
And where do you find those living?
These occur where, Kat?
In Cameroon.
Cameroon. How did you
Yes.
know all this?
I just know things.
Are they only like on the continent of Africa?
Well, there's lots of different species that are related to these, and they'll be in North America. We can actually find them here in
there's
California
some
as
that are
well.
Similar, because I've seen smaller versions.
I've seen like gypsy moths that kind of look. So you said that these are moths. One of the big questions that a lot of our kids asked us
Yeah.
is, what is the difference between a moth
Oh, I got it.
and a butterfly?
What's that?
Size, obviously. Look, those
Size.
butterflies are
But like
smaller.
clothes moths are.
That's true. Let me take
Teeny
back
tiny.
size and
Yeah.
say, let's ask an expert.
I wish we knew one.
Well, I have a couple ideas.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, if we look close, there are a couple differences, not just size.
Their wings are different.
But you mentioned fuzzy. What made you say that?
Because it looks like little fur between their body and their wings.
Their bodies are, first of all, are way bigger, but their body is like, I really want to pet him.
Yeah, they look fluffy, right?
Yeah.
It looks like a bumblebee.
I don't know if
that's
you guys
got
can
fur
see
Yeah.
him.
top part of it.
And do you know, have you also looked at their antenna before? You know how bugs have their little antenna on there?
Oh, wait, yeah.
And
it looks
moths,
like a leaf.
Yeah, moths are
Yeah.
usually more like fluffy as well. Butterflies have very like thin antenna. So that's a good way to tell them apart. But why do you think their antenna would be different?
They're
Because they need
used-
to get different information from their world.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I'm going to stop there before I say something
That was very general and accurate.
Okay. Why?
So what do you think they use their antenna for?
Finding food.
Yeah. So it's kind of like their way of smelling, right? So
okay.
they take in little chemicals, kind of like we smell through our noses. And so moths have these really big fluffy antennae because they come out at night too. Butterflies usually only come
These
out in the
guys
day.
are nocturnal.
I don't understand why they would need fluffy. Like, what? Isn't there plenty of stuff out at night just as much as during the day?
That's right. But with butterflies, they usually have better vision. So they're actually looking around because they're out in the day. Moths really rely on smells to find one another rather than their vision.
So you talked about taste in a way because you said they're looking for food. You talked about their vision. Do they hear?
Yes, that's a great question. Not all butterflies hear, but a lot of moths hear. What do you think they're listening out for?
Birds and bats.
Bats. Bats is the big thing.
Bats.
These are also really incredible because some moths can stop bats and their sonar.
Oh, the echolocation. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have heard that before.
Yeah. So bats will hunt these at night. That's probably their main predator. And so they can actually block their echolocation.
That
So they
is
don't get
cool.
eaten.
And then you just started talking about all their senses. I feel like I have heard before that butterflies can taste with their feet.
Yeah, they can.
Is that true?
Yeah, they also have little sensors on their feet.
So
So
they
if
have
they
little-
land on a plant, then
I've
they
heard
know
that
it's
about
the right plant.
houseflies. Is that the same thing?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you ever seen them land on your food and they're just like dancing around?
Well,
Yeah, they're
Like,
doing
yeah,
a quick
touch,
dance on my
touch,
donut.
touch.
ugh.
No, that's exactly right.
So why is it that a moth is nocturnal, comes out at night, and a butterfly doesn't? Like, are they just looking for different things that come out at different times? Is that why?
That's a good question. We think maybe the earliest ancestor was probably nocturnal. And then butterflies just started to come out during the day. And so then they just, diversified, and now there's all these different butterflies that are all out during the day.
And can I ask you about light and moths?
Yes, you can.
Every time in the summer I turn on my light outside my house, moths come flying all over the place.
Yeah.
So they're attracted to it. Then why don't they just come out at
During the day.
That's a great question.
Why
and
don't
so
they change their ways?
yeah, why don't they come out during the day, or why do they even fly to your light in the first place? Seems like a very simple question, right?
Nobody knows.
No one in the world knows. No one knows. Even the experts have no idea.
That is weird.
Kathy,
Yes.
Did you write down today? I asked a question no one in the world even
Yeah,
knows.
No
the
one
answer
in
to.
world.
Stumped.
I'm the
You
stumper.
stumped him. Stumped the expert.
There is maybe one idea. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
I am waiting for it.
These probably navigate by moonlight a lot of times. So they use it as a
So
compass.
they're viewing my
Right.
light as the moon.
The moon.
Whoops.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, but they're
Okay.
just kind of flying around in circles. So that could be it. Maybe it's a fake moon in their eyes.
It's very sad, actually, if you think about it. We've kind of.
But once you turn it off, they go on their way and back to their
I mean,
business.
they don't do. They're not like bothersome. They don't bite, right?
Right.
Do any butterflies or moths bite?
There's only one species that I know of, and it's called the vampire moth.
Have you been bitten by it?
No, unfortunately, I would offer myself if I had the opportunity.
Ooh.
But I think
Where-
they're found in
where-
Africa.
They're in Africa. And
Yeah.
are they poisonous or anything?
No, I don't think so. I think they
They just
just
bite.
go around and kind of like vampire bats will just kind of like nibble and get a little bit of blood. But they're not very common. Most butterflies are, pretty peaceful.
I'm assuming that people are not really on the menu very often because there's easier prey to find for those guys, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I think mostly like animals, sometimes livestock. But most butterflies when they're adults, as caterpillars, they want to eat plants.
Right.
And then as adults, they want to go around and feed on sugar water or nectar, basically.
Or blood?
Sometimes blood.
So this is making me think, how many different kinds of butterflies are there? Do you have any idea? Do people know, or is it just one of those unknown?
Well, if you had to guess right now, throw out a number. What do you think is the best guess of how many different butterflies are out there?
Let me talk with Kathy.
okay.
7? I don't know. 14?
He's got.
10,000? 40,000? 170,000? What do you think?
Yes.
168,000 species.
Of butterflies, moths, or both?
Both.
Exactly.
Yes.
I don't know.
I would say that there's probably in the range of hundreds of thousands.
Yes, that's a great guess. So there's probably, if you put together all the moths and butterflies in the world, it'd probably be around 200,000.
Wow,
200,000
that's a
different kinds.
Different kinds of
kinds.
species.
And the number living of each kind of species just depends on what food sources and stuff like that, right?
And have you ever discovered a species?
Oh, I think so.
Really?
it's-
Is it called the Aaron butterfly?
No, actually, but
Wait a minute. You found one that no one has ever said, "Oh, look, this is this particular."
This
one.
is the Epiphoric rusticifarian.
yes, the answer is I think I found one in Peru, and it's a butterfly that appears to be a new species.
And what did you name it?
I haven't named it yet. I'm still
Do
working
you
on
get
it.
to choose, or is it
Is it the Aaron-
certain?
It's a good
rules?
question. Scientists do get to name their discoveries. It's a little, there's not a rule, but it's a
There's
little.
nothing wrong with the name Kevin. If you're interested, Kevin
Just
Cathius.
Kevin Cassius. That's pretty
Kevin
good. That's
Cathius.
Cathius? I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
No,
it's
there must be a rule to how you're naming them, right?
there has to be some rule, and you can name it after yourself, but it's generally frowned upon in the scientific community.
Well, then,
So
you know what? I promise you, if I ever discover a butterfly, I will name it after you.
So that's perfect right there. 1 for 1.
You guys,
I agree.
right?
So what are you going to name it? Are you working on thinking of a name for it?
Yeah, generally you name it after the genus, and then there's a species name. So kind of like there's Homo sapien would be the humans. That would be the genus and species. The genus would probably be Taranthina.
Tarantina?
Taranthina is the genus.
Like Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty good. And then the species would be up to me.
And what are you
So
leaning towards?
Taranthina. Well, my mom's maiden name is different than mine. My last name is Pomerantz, but my mom's side is Ford, and I feel like that'd be a little catchier. So maybe like Fordy or something like that. So, but to be determined. Open to suggestions too. There are.
Maybe we should take a poll.
Well, there are some scientists who actually auction off names these days. So
That's kinda cool.
if you pay it for it, then you can get your name slapped on there.
Right.
How much you got?
You left your
Yes,
wallet.
you don't have any money. Wait a minute. In my classroom, there's a whole bunch of coins for when we do coin math. They're all yours
Perfect.
for the name. What's the first name?
Kevin.
Taranthina.
Taranthina Kevinosis.
Kevinosis.
Cathius.
No, you just
He swooped you.
He totally
He
did.
took your species.
if you're because I thought you switched over and that you agreed to name your first butterfly after him, and I haven't agreed to that.
All right, fine.
That's true. That's true. He undercut you on that
Totally
one.
did. He did.
So, do you have one favored butterfly?
I do. It's on
This
the.
is our last
it's,
question.
Our
We're
last
out of time.
question.
It's on the next slide. Do you want to see it?
Yeah.
Please show us.
Here it is, right here.
Is that the one you discovered?
This isn't the one that I discovered, but it's one of my favorites nevertheless. And it's called the glasswing butterfly.
glasswing.
As the name implies, you can see right through it. And this was a paper published by researchers at Caltech, and they discovered that they have these little nanostructures, these little teeny tiny dimples on their wings, and they make them anti-reflective.
That is
So
the
light just
coolest
passes
thing.
right through their wings.
Well, awesome.
Isn't that cool? So they're actually using it for new technologies now, like adapting it to solar panels or glasses or LEDs. Whenever you don't want light to reflect back, you can be inspired by nature.
So really, we should fund science, shouldn't we?
We should.
Yes.
I think it would
give
help.
that money. Well, thank you, Aaron, for coming. Before you go, I do have for you, we had, like I said, a lesson on monarchs. And so we have two, oops.
Oh, that
Which way
was
does it
good.
go? That
Yep.
was, it's that way, this way. There's two drawings that some students made
These
for you.
are beautiful.
Of some butterflies.
Fifth grader and a fourth grader.
These are beautiful. And
Yeah.
save the monarch. Excellent message. We do need to
Exactly.
save the monarchs because they're beautiful and they're important to our environment. And so we should definitely do everything we can to save these beautiful butterflies.
Yes, we should.
All right.
So I have one last question, actually from a student, and it is: have you ever been bitten by anything poisonous? By a bug?
All the time in the
All
rainforest.
the time?
All the time. You know what it's mostly by? Are ants. So ants sting and bite all the time. And so
Do you have to seek medical help, or is it just kind of like?
no,
ouch?
there's only one that's really probably dangerous, and that's called the bullet ant. So, but I haven't been stung by that one, fortunately, because that can sometimes send people to the hospital.
Have you ever seen a bullet ant?
Yes, I've seen many. I
Ooh.
try to keep my distance, and
That's a good idea.
and we're also around snakes sometimes. I haven't been bitten by one, but I know some people who have been bitten by snakes, and nobody's died. But you know, you have to be careful in the jungle.
What? Okay. One last question. What's the grossest thing you've seen in the jungle?
Ooh, grossest. I'm not grossed out easily, so I probably think it's more cool. But maybe
Okay.
people would think it's gross. It's an anaconda, the giant
Ooh.
snake,
Snake.
and it had just eaten a giant rodent called a capybara.
Oh, those are.
Those are big.
Yeah, so it was
They're like small
full
pigs,
and
right?
just sitting there. Yeah, pretty much. And I thought that was really cool.
That
Some
is-
people might think that's gross,
No,
but you
that's
do see
pretty
really
cool.
cool and
I'm
gross
gonna
stuff out
vote
there.
for both. It's both cool.
Cool and gross.
They can be both.
Yeah. Very cool.
All right.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.